Welcome to PACTV Community News. We have a great show tonight as we take you inside the Teen Center at Kingston Library, a brew-off at New World Tavern in Plymouth, and we learned about fats, oils, and greases and how they do not belong down your drain.
PCN brings you to the Duxbury Council on Aging to learn what to do and not to do after calling 911. And we pop into PACTV's first open mic event at Plymouth Library. Then we get a government update about Pembroke's past town meeting.
We profile a couple longtime PACTV community producers in our PACTV Impact video, and we welcome Elizabeth Shanahan-Jewett, PACTV's Director of Outreach, to the set to give us a preview of 2019.
It's going to be a great show, and we begin at the Kingston Library. Kingston Library has opened a new teen center. Area teens can read, learn, play games, create artwork, work on homework, or even research, all in their own supported space. PCN stopped by to get a tour and to learn more.
The teen room is important because it gives a space for our local teenagers to come in and explore their interests. It gives them a place where they can learn on their own terms. They can, if they're creative, they can pursue that. If they're interested in music, they can pursue that. And I also think it's important because it shows what libraries are becoming. Libraries aren't just books and magazines. There's much more to it. Libraries are becoming more of an experience now, and I think our teen room goes to show that. They can do many, many different things in there. They can do the regular library things like research or look for a book or do homework, but what I think makes our teen rooms extra special is that we have much more to offer. If they're creative and they like art, they can come in and use our new iMac and try out the Adobe Photoshop, or they can, we have the whole Creative Cloud suite. They can learn how to use that. If they're into drawing, they can use our iPads with the Procreate app and the Apple Pencil to create something and print it out. If they'd like to do something without technology, they can come in and they can make a craft or they can make a button. There's many, many different things to do in the teen room. If they just want to come in and have some fun and blow off some steam, they can play our PlayStation 4 or our Wii U. And if they really want to have a fun experience, they can come in and try out a new virtual reality system. We hope that the teen room attracts more teens to the library and brings in more interest. We also hope that it builds a foundation for us to work with schools and other local organizations to get teens more involved in the community and more involved in the library.
The New World Tavern hosted the first South Shore Hopetition last month. A blind taste test determined the best IPA on the South Shore. 10 breweries were put to the test, but the best local IPA went to Invisible Airways from Stellwagen Beer Company. PCN was there for the inaugural event.
So we are at the New World Tavern here on Main Street in Plymouth. This is their first, I believe, annual Hopetition. They have 10 local brewers all competing to find out who's got the best IPA.
None of us know what the IPAs are, so I know what breweries are here. No clue what beers they brought. So it's a really, I can't pick out my favorite beer. There's some beers here that I've never even had. So it's a really cool kind of test of the hopheads to see if they can pick out their favorite brewery.
It's kind of a voting system where you get 2 tickets in the first 2 rounds to vote, and then the winning 2 beers from those rounds go into the final round. And winner take all, they get a trophy and bragging rights.
I think it really stemmed from one day we were sitting around with Carl and we did a blind taste test of some really crappy beers. So, like, can you pick out all these different light beers and which is which, some of your favorite beers? And not a single person got one right. The best was 2 of them.
Having learned more about the event and its origins, we wanted to dive more into how it benefits the community, as well as why craft beer is becoming so popular in the area.
This event really involves the community because everyone likes beers around here. Plymouth is such a really cool beer town, and what's the king of the beer world is IPAs, so kind of brings us all out, shows the mettle of all the IPA drinkers in town, and really shows the education level, hopefully, of what we all have.
For the customer, you get to come in here. Every single one of those breweries is represented here. You can come and meet those breweries, and that's that kind of local vibe. you can meet everyone. You can meet Jeff from Mayflower, you can meet Kenny from Second Wind, you can meet Cam from Jack's Abbey, and ask them all your beer questions. And they're very approachable. Everyone's super nice, and everyone likes to have a couple beers, and it's very chill, and it's, ask all your beer questions and find new beers.
With such a large turnout in its first year, we asked about how the event will hopefully evolve in the coming years and what the future of it may look like.
I think it could be more breweries involved. Hopefully it goes well, and there's so many breweries in Massachusetts now that sticking to the local, you can do another 10 breweries, and you can keep going, you can keep having these guys battle each other, and it could really be a year-round event.
The thing about all these breweries is they're all friends. A lot of these work on collaborative beers, so whoever wins has just painted a big target on his back for next year. So everyone's going to come out with their guns blazing. It's a friendly competition, but everybody wants to take down the guy on top. So I think that it'll be interesting. Every year I think we'll push the level of beer, and so next year you're going to get even better beer than this year. So it's worth the $50. You get great beer and a buffet, and get to hang out with brewers.
Did you get your tickets?
Duxbury's Council on Aging partnered with local emergency service organizations to provide valuable information in emergency situations as part of their community educational series. The Bristol County Sheriff's Office presented Until Help Arrives, a presentation on what to do and not to do after calling 911. These critical minutes that you can wait for help can be the difference between life and death. PCN was on hand to bring you this very important story.
I developed a senior safety series here at the Duxbury Senior Center because part of our mission is to live well and age well. And paramount to that is safety for seniors. So we've been working with local safety organizations in the area, the fire department, the police department, and the Bristol County Sheriff's Department. And they came to us today with this program called Until Help Arrives. And that is basically to help people understand what they can do before the first responders come, because there are steps that we can all take, and sometimes we're not aware of what those are.
When 9/11 happened, I got real irritable because I felt I should have done something.
Many times people get frightened when they see something, an incident happening, and we're trying to take the stress out of it. And we do talk about stress, and we talk about calling 911, which is really important. And we make sure that they know how to dial 911, how to interact with that operator, okay? Some of the things that might be asked, and we train them how to get a picture of what's going on and make sure that they get that picture back to that 911 operator, what they're looking at.
I've personally had to call 911 a few times in my life, and it is always just a nerve-wracking situation. You kind of get that gut fear of, I'm not sure if I'm saying the right things so that I can make sure that the right help is coming, and then what do I do? Is there something I can be doing to help my husband or something like that? And then you think about the situations when you're driving down the road, and if there's an accident there, what do I do if I'm that first person who has to respond?
Staying safe is another key point, because we've had a number of people who have been at the scene of accidents and have been killed by vehicles coming by. We see it all the time. You're going to be out of your vehicle at an accident scene. We stress, you've got to be safe. Make sure that you're not in an area where you can be hit.
Really, it's very, very hard to make the situation worse. If you're in a situation where someone's suffering some kind of life-threatening emergency, it's pretty hard to make it worse for them than it already is. It's much better to try to do something. You're very unlikely to cause them harm. So it's better to, at least give it a shot. It's a difference between life and death for that person, because we are quick, but we're not that quick.
We're doing an awful lot with high schools, with a lot with the licensed practical nurse. We do home health aides. We've done a lot out in the general public. We've done senior centers. So we're available. We're out there.
Objective 5. Objective 5 is positioning the engine. We want to make sure that people can breathe.
Somebody's looking for us to come out and present the program, we'll do it. They can contact my office, and that's 508-995-1311. Our sheriff is extremely active in making sure that the community is well versed in how to protect itself.
This week in our Government Spotlight, we will take a look back at Pembroke's town meeting. Producer Keith Hughes brings us the highlights.
With the spring town meeting season fast approaching, here's a look at Pembroke's special town meeting held this past fall. All across the Commonwealth, towns have been implementing bans on retailers giving out plastic bags to customers, and possibly the biggest question of the night was whether Pembroke would join them. While advocates of the proposal cited environmental concerns as a primary reason for a town-wide ban, some in attendance were unconvinced that switching to reusable bags would result in an appreciable impact on energy expenditure or waste disposal, and doubts about the measure's enforceability were also raised. However, voters landed solidly in favor of the article, giving retailers in town 6 months to use their existing stock of plastic bags before the ban takes effect. Pembroke joins 85 other towns in Massachusetts that have passed similar measures. Issues regarding health care costs were once again in the spotlight, as one article passed by the town sought to reverse contribution increases affecting 4 retired town employees. According to the article's backers, the increase from 15 to 25% ran counter to an agreement reached in 2006, locking in rates for those retiring at that time. And the town's police department was the subject of 2 articles, one to approve money for covering overtime costs, and another to fund the hiring of 2 officers. Police Chief Richard Wall argued that the measures were necessary to return staffing to levels comparable to where they were in the early 2000s, and that failing to hire the new officers would result in greater overtime costs to the town. Opposition was centered around concerns that drawing the requested funds from free cash as provided in the article would cause budget shortfalls in the future. It wasn't enough to sway voters who resoundingly passed the measure, but the funding of budget items from free cash drew a stern warning from Selectman Dan Trabucco.
You can't take it all. It has to come from somewhere. This is the start of it. It's going to get worse next year. We're all going to have to make tough decisions in this room and at the ballot box next year.
And that's all for this government update. For PACTV, I'm Keith Hughes.
Motion made by Eric Hurt from Recreation Commission.
PACTV has been around for over 20 years. We have producers who have been here that long as well, and we decided to talk to a couple who have not only utilized all that PACTV offers to the community, but have utilized it to benefit the community in very many ways. We are proud to present Karen and Ken Bukes in our PACTV Community Impact video.
I'm not sure how stressed Kenny knew he was. I watched him every day. He had no hobby, really. I thought PACTV would make a wonderful vehicle for him to relax.
The only thing I can liken it to is I walked in the door and somebody handed me the keys and said, have at it. And to come into the studio and have thousands and thousands of dollars worth of professional equipment entrusted to me, it gave me a feeling like I had never felt ever before. It blossomed from there.
Ken and Karen Bukes have been community producers of many shows such as Karen and Company and Talk of the Town. These shows are produced from their local community media center, PACTV. Community media provides a voice to citizens to share their hobbies, exercise their First Amendment rights, or showcase local stories that impact their communities.
One of the occurrences on Talk of the Town, we got a telephone call that there was a situation going on in 2 apartment complexes in the town of Plymouth. And people wanted us, as a television program, to raise awareness of what was happening to the senior citizens in these complexes. As a television program, along with the business community in Plymouth, ended up air conditioning the entire building. Anyone needed an air conditioning, got one. We as a community made it happen. It's the power of television. The value of the phone calls and emails made me understand that our television program was having an impact on the community. People were paying attention. They were calling, asking questions, getting answers, and I felt we made a difference in helping people understand the benefits of community television.
Local community television is a wonderful vehicle to get your voice heard.
I would strongly suggest that anyone who is looking for a venue, maybe for an education, maybe to get a background in doing a television program, get themselves involved in public access television. And I can truly say it's added years to my life.
Did you know that after you cook that steak or bacon, the fats, oils, and greases should not be poured down the drain? Towns have been seeing enormous amounts of buildup in the wastewater treatment facilities, and they report that the damage these byproducts are doing is costing towns a lot of money in maintenance and repairs at the stations, as well as significant environmental issues. PCN met up with Dr. Nate Horowitz-Willis, Plymouth's Director of Public Health, to learn more about this issue and where we should be putting our fat, oil, and grease waste. We start with a recent PSA he did at PACTV.
Hey Jerry, what are you up
Nate.
to?
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. I'm just finishing up working on a recipe for our show Delicious and Nutritious, and I'm cleaning up a bit here, and I have a little bit of oil left over.
Okay, well, I'm just curious. What are you going to do with that oil?
I'm going to let it cool first, then I'm going to put it into my container over here, then I'm going to put this in the trash.
Oh, I see here. Well, Jerry, it's very important that you do that to prevent any clogs or anything else that's going to impair your septic or your sewer system. So how is anyone else going to remember that important concept?
I got it. Cool it, can it, and trash it.
Cool it, can it, and trash it. Yeah. So remember, not disposing of fats, oils, and grease properly can clog your septic system or public sewer. Anyone can dispose of fats, oils, and grease properly. Remember to cool it, can it, trash it. With fats, oils, and greases, that's been an issue not just in Plymouth or in Massachusetts, but nationwide. And it's an issue in the realm of public health because it could have ramifications for the impairment of your septic system or even your sewer line. And it could lead to the backup of both of those types of systems. And you could end up having antibiotic resistant bacteria build up and other pathogens. And then that could get into your water system if you have a well, potentially, or it could lead to the discharge of these types of pathogens and bacteria into other water bodies and waterways. Not to mention the grease itself could go into these water bodies or waterways and cause further degradation of the environment. And then the disposal of any foreign materials such as flushable wet wipes, when we all know, or when it's been shown that any wet wipe is not flushable. So we're talking about proper disposal and educating people on how to go about doing that. And then the homeowners who may have septic systems and also homeowners who have sewer. So that's going to be the first thing with the education piece. And then hopefully we can get around to compliance. So in the future, we really want to be able to go and work with restaurants and any homeowners who have a septic system and to work with the sewer division so we can start to address some of these things in the community so people can have improved, healthy lifestyles.
I am pleased to welcome Elizabeth Shanahan-Jewett to set today. Elizabeth is PACTV's Director of Outreach and is involved in the many community events that PACTV will be sponsoring and participating in 2019. PACTV held its first open mic event with poets, storytellers, and even a comedian. Your Voice Matters is a series that PACTV launched in January to connect with the community and let them know that their voice has a place. The first event partnered with South Shore Story Group and was hosted at the Plymouth Public Library. There was a great turnout and PCN was there to bring you the story. We're going to watch it and chat about it on the other side.
Because we have such a vibrant arts and culture community here on the South Shore, PACTV is excited to be presenting our very first story and poetry open mic. We partnered with Plymouth Public Library and South Shore Stories, brought in Pioppi's Liquor to set out a wonderful spread of cash bar, and we brought free snacks. I'm really excited. We have storytellers, poets, and one comedian.
A great reason for us partnering with our local cable television is it gives us an opportunity to open our doors to a group of people who may not be aware that these kind of wonderful events go on at their local library. My whole goal is to promote the Plymouth Public Library as a community center.
So this is going to be a very safe and inclusive event. This is the type of event where people can talk about whatever they want to talk about, and they can have poems about whatever subject moves them. And to us, that is really important. PACTV is all about free speech. That's what we were founded on. And we're so excited because we have a whole eclectic group of participants today.
So I'm really excited to be here, the MC of the first open mic sponsored by PACTV and the Plymouth Public Library, and Andrea Levitt, who's a storyteller, and the South Shore Story Slam. So we're kind of having a coordinated effort here to have all kinds of different voices. We even have a comedian. It'll be really exciting. And we're looking forward to just giving people their opportunity to say what is on their mind, and however the best way it is for them to say it.
I will be introducing the storytellers. Some I know, some are new to me, which I find very exciting. Stories have become very popular on the South Shore. In story slams and story showcases, they are 5 minutes long. They're personal stories, and they have to involve you, some part of your life. You are connected with that stories. They are usually something that will move you. They have an emotional quotient in it. They will use dialogue, and you will really take a trip with the storyteller and come in, experience what they do from their perspective, and then come safely out to the safety of your chair.
Now, I'm 66 years old, and if you're my age, you grew up on stories of the Great Depression. My dad would tell us stories. I had 2 sisters and 1 brother, and he would tell us stories about the Great Depression. Some of them were true, some were meaningful, and some were both.
Now, I have friends that are horrified at the thought of going to a thrift shop, wearing something from a consignment shop. Ooh, you don't know where it's been. But to me, you wash it again, you make it your own, and you make it your own story.
I'm clean shaven for a reason, because this is the real me. And I will never, ever put on a false face for anyone, for any reason, ever again. The price is just too high. Thanks for listening.
So poetry is very individualized. When I grew up, poems had to rhyme. Poems can be anything, and poems can be very short, they can be long. It's really an expression that it's a personal expression that somebody wants to make, and they're trying to make it more concise than a story. So I think that's the difference between poetry and storytelling. And we'll see tonight, because it'll all be very different. And I dragged out a poem that I wrote when I was 15, so who knows?
I'm beautiful and smart. I love poetry, skiing, and art. I travel with my family whenever we can. We bounce over obstacles because we can. With true grit and love, true kindness from above. Listen, I'm not saying people are mean, but say hello like I'm a person too.
They say there are 3 loves in your life. That you love for different reasons, that turn the pages of your book and decide which chapters to lay themselves on. Number 1, you meet. It's sweet. You can't eat or sleep, and you're young, and maybe you're too young. And the sun revolves around your love, and it finally explodes, and then you implode, and then the sun goes away, and then your planet is just kind of hanging off its axis. That was my first.
We had no idea what kind of response we were going to get, and are super excited that we have a waiting list now. So what we're going to do from now on is once a month invite people into the studio to record an up to 5-minute story, poetry, comedy act if they have one, so that we can shine a light on people in the community and let them know that we believe their voice matters, because it does.
There's a lot of good things about getting older, but obviously I don't have the time to tell you. But last year, I got an email subject line. This is true story, as they all are. The subject line, some of you got this this email also. It said Bridal Expo at Waverly Oaks, on March 13th. But you see, I'm not in tune anymore with bridal expos, so I read it, to my eyes, it read as Burial Expo. See you at the bar.
And it really was an exciting night. What was your take on it?
It was. My take, my intention, all of our intention as we set up for it was to highlight the community voices that we all know everyone has a story. Everyone that you run into has a story that they've told a million times, and we wanted to encourage those people to come out and tell their story, as well as professional storytellers, professional poets, and we were so excited that over 100 people were sitting together for 2 hours without phones, supporting each other, listening to each other, and being heard.
Right.
It was amazing.
There was you could hear a pin drop really in the room. Every time someone spoke, there was such reverence from the audience for the people who were speaking, and we had a completely unique group of all different types of poems and stories, and they were all obviously very, very intrinsic in the people that spoke them. So I agree with you. I think people believe nowadays that there's so many platforms out there. You can go on YouTube, you can create your own anything, Facebook, and you can say anything. But it's different than actually having a more structured event where you're given a certain amount of time to say what's really important to you.
And it's community. Like right now, anyone with internet access, you have free speech, but we also have an echo chamber. We're not being heard. We're not listening to each other. And we have a national narrative now where we all know what our favorite politicians tweeted this morning, but not necessarily what's going on in our neighbors' lives.
Right.
These kinds of events that we're going to do in 2019 are going to get neighbors back in touch with other neighbors and community in touch with community, because Community Access Centers started as a media platform for free speech.
Right.
Now we know everyone has free speech. So we're going back to community access. That's something that can't be replaced by Facebook or Instagram.
Right.
Only you and I looking into each other's eyes, hearing each other's stories, can do that.
Right. So we're having, when you mentioned in the clip that we're going to have something here at PACTV every month. What is that going to look like?
Every month. Every month we have 30-minute slots that we're opening up to people to come in and record.
Anyone can come in?
Anyone.
Okay.
Anyone. An up to 6-minute presentation. It can be your poetry, your story. It can be a story about your dog.
Yeah.
We have a teleprompter available, so there's no need for anyone to feel weird or funny. It's really about highlighting community voices.
Great.
So you can email me, Elizabeth at PACTV, to get a slot, and we'll be doing it every month.
That's great. And we can find out about it on our website.
Absolutely.
PACTV.org.
Yeah.
Yes. So PACTV really, what you said is true. The local, hyper-local community, like PACTV Community News, to me, is just a gem, because there are so few places where you can get those good, wonderful, happy, uplifting stories about the people and the events in your hyper-local community. Yeah. And I applaud Kim Mio, who is the woman who founded PACTV Community News and is at the helm once again, charging us forward. We also do things at PACTV, like we cover parades and concerts, and we have the Rotary auction here with the Rotarians every March, which is a huge event and raises a lot of money for a lot of nonprofits.
And it's a lot of fun.
And a lot of fun. And communities can get involved and help us. What else do you see going forward as far as outreach for PACTV out in the community?
Well, we're forming a partnership with our libraries, because libraries are also community access centers where much more than words goes on in our libraries. So the event that we just had, the open mic, was at our libraries, and we would like to bring in our other libraries into our events.
Yeah.
We're also going to do something called Pop-Up PACTV for 2019.
Pop-Up PACTV?
Yes.
So what does that mean?
We're going to take a camera and a couple of crew members and go out to events, malls, things that are happening in the community, just to get that man and woman on the and child on the street, their perspective, and say anything that you want.
That they want to say. We want to be the platform for people to talk about what goes on in their lives.
Yeah.
Because our neighbors, our neighborhoods, if we don't stay connected, and you have to do it, you have to make the effort to do it, because it's so easy to just look down at your phone or your tablet all the time and not look into the eyes of the person. And that's what I found so striking about our open mic event, was that the people at the microphone, if they weren't looking at their notes, they were looking out into the eyes of the audience, who were all looking directly at them.
And so supportive.
So supportive, and that just doesn't happen a lot anymore. It just doesn't. Even if you're on a stage performing in a play, you really don't get to look eye to eye with the audience, because they're kind of a blur behind the lights. This really gave people the chance to connect.
Yes.
And we're all about that here at PACTV. So we're looking forward to a lot of things from the outreach department.
Yes.
Anything else you got on your list?
Pop-up PACTV, we also have a series called Your Greatest Inspiration, where we also invite people in monthly to talk about the person or the thing in their life that most inspires them. For me, it would be Mr. Rogers or yoga. And you also have 6 minutes to talk about that. You can do it in up to 2 minutes, but we want to invite people to share their voice in different ways, and we will disseminate it on our YouTube channel and on our community channel and throughout social media. So those will form connections, and maybe we'll recognize each other in the supermarket and know a little more about each other.
That's right. Instead of just a blur going by, hey, I saw you. I saw the story you told. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much. We will have you back, Elizabeth. We're looking forward to this. And thank you for watching. PCN is on Facebook and Twitter, so be sure to follow us there. For more information and links to stories, check out PCN at pactv.org. PCN is also on YouTube, so be sure to follow our channel. We're back in a couple weeks with more local stories. Have a great week.